Hey YouTube, this is a video for replacing a gas valve for my Sears Kenmore Elite range. It's it's a nice stove. I mean, I've had some problems with it. Some of the problems were these. So far these have gone, both of them. I actually repaired them myself because they're like 35 bucks to like $70 shipped, or like 80 shipped or whatever, from SearsPartsDirect.com. And you kind of need them because without them you can't keep your, see how the stove is like not all the way closed or whatever. They do kind of go a little easy, but once they're gone you can't even get your stove to do this, and certainly it won't stay tight up against the stove. So that was one thing that went. Now the second thing, started smelling wisps of gas, which basically is this house is on propane, and what you're smelling is called mercaptan. It's added to propane to allow you to smell it, because propane really doesn't have, it's odorless. It's an odorless gas. So what you're smelling, it's kind of a foul smell, that's called mercaptan. Anyway, this valve is faulty, and I found that it was coming from here. My wife and I could smell, like I said, little wisps of gas. I didn't know where it was coming from. Finally traced it down to here. All you need is a little bit of soapy water, and you can, I don't know what to do with it. Here it is. Basically, you just take a bottle and fill it with water and some soap, and just spray around areas. And I mean, they also sell gas detectors, cheap enough, like at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, but this is just a real cheap way. And what happens is, here's another one that I haven't taken apart yet. You'll get little bubbles that will appear wherever the gas is coming from. And that's what let me know that it was this one right here. Other pieces of it, this I already took apart. This one on top of it right here basically looks the same as that. And so I took that off. Basically what it has two screws that hold it down, and it came with this spring inside. And that spring, I think, is the issue, because basically what it does is, there's another piece inside here. If I take my trusty needle nose pliers and pull this out, this piece lets all the gas flow around it, and it seats in there really tightly. You can see it has some wear on the sides right there, and so when it's in the off position, if you can see down inside there, see the holes in the side, and it has a little ball bearing at the bottom, and there's other holes there. Those are the different areas for, depending on what parts of this long burner you want to burn. Also, looking at this just by itself, that's a large hole, and closer to you, I'm trying to do it while I'm gripping it, that's a smaller hole, and you can see that line going around also, that deep trench, whatnot. Again, there's the bigger hole. So when you put this in, the closed, basically that angle right there, it's closed. And how you know that is because, again, if I pull it out, when you see this side of it, you can see there's no holes there, right? And that lines up with the holes on the inside, on the side there that you see. So you want to line that back up when you're putting it together, so that they would block the holes that will be on this, coming from this side, because you can see that gas line going back that way. That's going to go to this range here. There's another one that's hard to see, and you can see it down in the middle down there. That's also another one that goes to other parts of the range. So anyway, that has to sit back in there like that, and then this spring that I think is the problem sits on top of that, and then this whole mechanism sits on top of the spring that's on top of that. The spring actually slides onto the bottom piece there that looks like, I can't point to it with my finger, right here by my pinky. It slides onto there. That open area slides onto that, you know, piece right down in there with the spring attached to it. And then you have two screws that go in those holes, and it brings it tight against there. So it's going to look like that. Same thing. And that D shape that you see basically just goes for these. These are your, you know, it just goes on there, pushes down, whatever. So why does it die? I'm not even 100% sure right now that it's just the spring. However, I looked up the part. The part's $108. So if it is the spring, it should be a cheap fix. Over time, springs lose their tension, and that tension is the only thing that's forcing this nipple in. Because when you turn the gas on, your gas is at like, I think it's 12 psi pressure-wise. So it's going to be pushing up on this little valve right here. The only thing holding it down is the spring, and pop this off. The spring and the fact that it's screwed down with this, you know, this black, I don't want to call it a washer, but it acts like one. So these screws hold it down, and the spring then forces this down, which keeps the gas from coming up. And I think that's the issue. I just think the spring's gone bad. How could the spring go bad? Again, the way this stove works is when this is placed inside there, every time you go to use your valves, and you probably already know this, but for those of you that don't, once this is on here like this, you have to push it down and then turn. As you look on here, you push down and you turn, and you see where it says light, and then you'll hear it go t-t-t, and then it lights, and then you have your selection, which you saw inside the valve, how that whole selector works, because it just rotates to the bigger hole or the little hole. That's what gives you more little gas. So over time, every time you push this down to turn to start that, you know, that spring, you'll be able to see as I push this one down. See how I can push it in? There's a spring in there that's working, and I just think that the spring over time has lost its you know, tension, and it just pushes too easily. So that means that the gas coming up can push too much, and then it allows just gas to wisp through there. Not a whole lot, but you can smell it, and it's obviously not bad, and it'll get worse over time. And if your house builds up with gas, and you know, somebody smokes cigarettes or a spark or whatever, boom, you've heard of it on TV. So anyway, these right here are the igniters, and essentially they just go back on like that when you're done. I just removed them all, remove them off here so it's easier. And so you'd put them back on. This metal plate comes back down, and I'm just kind of reversing the order. Here, I'll try to make it easier for everybody. I'll just put these back on. They just go on like that. And this one I can't put on because I don't have the stem on it. This will just come back down. It's really easy to do this. Just make sure that they go over the holes. Again, that one's not lined up perfectly. And then you'll just want to make sure you're lining up all these. And all your screws, set aside. I put my screws aside. Just screw hole, screw hole, screw hole, screw hole. You'll be able to see them all because you'll have to take them all off. And then you have this. This just snaps right, just sits right back down. You actually have to go from the bottom, because you'll see this metal edge right here. You have to get this around it and then push forward. So that's the only tricky part. So you have to like bring it in front of you a little bit, push it forward, and then make sure it's down. And then you have these that just screw onto these to keep this whole thing tight against the stove. And then the last thing that you're going to put on is these. Before you do anything, before you even start this process, wherever your stove is, you're going to want to unplug it from the wall and turn your gas off. How you know your gas is off or on? When it's on, if this is the gas line, when it's on, the valve will be in line with it, showing that it's open. When it's off, the valve would be like that. That's showing you that it's not running in line with the valve or with the gas line. So that's off, that's on, just so you know. So anyway, when you get down there, it's going to be like that. Just turn it, you know, a quarter turn, and that'll turn it off. So you want to shut your gas off and you unplug it before you start any of this, or you're going to have problems, obviously. And like I said, once those things are screwed off there, this pretty much just lifts up. Be careful because you get wires here. Just kind of set it so it'll balance itself. Whatever. And then you have to remove those screws. Move these screws. And then you just flip this plate up. And I kind of set it. And I just set it up here also. Obviously, you see that gasket there. You want to make sure that gasket stays intact. Whatever. Then, next thing I did is I just pulled these off. Now, before I forget, when you're spraying around in here, if you choose to use that option, again, power off and all that, if you choose to use that option, these are going to get wet. And these are going to get wet. So that's kind of not great. What I advise before you start spraying around these is remove all of these off of the stems. Keep them out of the way. I didn't do that. I should have. Think about it. Then spray these. The reason why is when I didn't do it and I put it all back together, these had some water still in them. So you put them all in, you put it all back together, you plug it all in, and you get it just wouldn't stop. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, I figured it out. These had some water in it, so it's connecting. You're getting a connection, electrical connection. And so I had to go get a hair dryer, and I had to dry each one of these out. You know, don't melt the plastic or the rubber around the wires, just enough so you're just drying them out. I'd put them back on after, and then it would go letting me know, okay, it's not quite fully dry. So what I'm saying is it went from fast, and as it's getting drier, that tick went even slower. So just save yourself from getting these wet. You know, keep them out of the way and spray around in here. Now, these are contacts right here. So once you're done, whichever one you figure out, go back and wipe them all down with like a paper towel or something to make sure that these are not wet. So that way, when you put those on, you're not going to get the same effect. So you still will have to dry these off, but you won't have to dry the whole inside of these off. And I'll show you kind of what it looks like inside. You know, you can see how water can get all inside there, and you get problems. So save yourself the time. Don't do that. Just spray around the valves themselves, put those off, and you'll be good. Anyway, YouTube, so my solution, I'm guessing, is just to go to Lowe's, Home Depot. I'm going to try and find this and see if it'll work. See if it just needs more attention. And hopefully I get the same exact size. You know, I'm not going to buy it if it's not. And if that doesn't work, I found the part on SearsPartsDirect.com. That's the name of the place. So SearsPartsDirect.com. And part number is 316-412-502. Again, 316-412-502. The part's about $108, basically $109. And I don't know if they have free shipping or you're gonna pay another $10 for shipping or something. So it's kind of pricey, and that replaces this whole brass part. You'll have to disconnect it from here, and you'll have to re-put some that gas goop stuff for gas lines. You can't just screw fittings. Some you can. I'm not 100% sure with these. If they're the ball type, you won't need that goopy stuff, but if you don't have it at home, you should grab it. And so you'll have to disconnect it from there, and there's one more down there, and I don't know how else it's attached to this thing. Actually, I can see there's one screw right in front of it, and that's what holds the whole thing in. So that might mean that I have to find a way to get this whole thing out of here to even get to that. Maybe it's as simple as I see a screw down there. Maybe it's just removing this side piece, and I think that's what it would be. So you're gonna remove this whole piece right here, and then you'll have access to the front of those valves, which you'll need to get to that bolt right there. Once you get to that bolt, you unscrew it there, and the one down there, and you'll be able to pull that right off. And you're going to be replacing this whole thing. And yeah, kind of a pain, but let's just hope that, like I said, this is the only thing you'll need. Anyway, so you'll need these screws are those Torx screws, and I got it like Lowe's, Home Depot. You should buy one of these things. Has all your Torx. This one's the T. Is it the T? Yeah, T15 is the size that you'll need for those screws. I have that, and once I got them loose, because you're going to want to get it tight also, so you kind of need this effect to get it tight rather than just a screw. And once I did get it loose, I also have, a Torx screwdriver just to make it faster to get it out. And then I'll put it back in with this one, and then I'll switch to this one to make sure it's tight. You definitely need it tight. That's the whole point of this spring and mechanism. You need that to be tight. Not over tight. You don't want to strip it, but you do need to get it tighter than you can do with just this motion. So yeah, they sell these in Allen wrench style or whatever. So rather than having like 20,000 Allen wrenches in a little bag or something like that, I just love these because it's all it's all right there. It lets you know the size and works really great, and they're not too expensive. Harbor Freight also has them. I think that's about it, YouTube. Once I get the spring, I'll come back home and install it in there. I showed you how to put it all together. It's pretty self-explanatory and no big deal. And then once you get it all tight and so on and so forth, you're going to plug it in, turn the gas back on, and you'll be back in business. Before you put it all together, obviously, put this together with the spring in it and so on and so forth. Keep these away, and you're going to want to just spray this one. Not all of those. You already know those aren't leaking. Just spray around here and with the soapy water, or if you have a gas meter, and if you get any bubbles with the soapy water, then you'll know you still have an issue. It's not just a spring, and you'll probably have to replace the whole thing, obviously, because it's not going to stop leaking. If I have to do that, I'll just keep it together, and I'll order the part. I'm going to keep it all hooked up and whatever, because it's only wisping a little bit. It's not like pouring a whole bunch. You just get the odor. And, it's not safe. You shouldn't keep it that way. You definitely should buy the new one. But I'm just saying, in order to keep using my stove, I'll just put it back together. It takes like 5 minutes to get together. And order the new one, replace it, and we should be fine back in business. Trying to make sure I don't forget anything else. So yeah, just make sure before you put all this back together, you test it first with some soapy water. If it works, then again, wipe it all down so it's dry before you stick these back on, or you'll have that ticking problem, like I said, and you'll have to use a hairdryer. And once that's done, you should be good to go. I will do that myself, and I will add to my video later whether this worked or not, so to try and save you guys some time. Anyway, that's about it, YouTube. Hopefully this helps, guys, or should I say people in general. And I always like to give back because people help me. Again, this is a Kenmore Elite. I don't remember the exact manufacturer, whatever, but if I back up and anybody recognizes their stove, this is what it looks like. And hopefully this helps some people. Okay, YouTube, thanks. Have a good day.